Tip of the week, travel questions and answers. With summer coming and COVID restrictions being lifted, I know that more people will be traveling. People always want to know, hey, can I travel even if I don't have legal status in the United States? So I thought for this week's tip of the week, I'd talk about that, answer some questions we've had from viewers on our channels, and discuss all things travel. Stay tuned to find out more and see if your travel question was one I answer in this immigration tip of the week. My name is Andres Mejer. On TV, you might hear me as Andre Mejer because people can't pronounce my name. So on TV, I have to butcher it so that others don't, so that, a TV segment does not become 1 minute about how to pronounce my name. I'm an immigrant and I'm an immigration attorney based in New Jersey. I help people to get legal status no matter where they are in the US or in the world, as long as they want to be legal in the United States. Usually there's some way I can help them. I started helping people with their immigration issues because my family had a bad experience with an attorney not getting us our green cards when I was growing up. My family paid them to help us get our green cards and they did zero. And my family traveled far away to New York for the New York attorney who charged a lot of money and did zero. My goal is to make sure your process is as stress-free as possible and unlike mine. We are all happier that so many people are getting their COVID vaccines. We feel terrible for those in India and for those here in the United States who have family in India. I hope your family is safe and well. But you may be wondering, can I travel safely now? Not because of the pandemic, but because of your legal status. So let's talk about that. A few years ago, there was a law that said anyone wanting to fly would need a real ID. That's a statute, and it's spelled R-E-A-L-I-D. That law was supposed to go in effect to 2019. Then it was extended to 2020 and has now been extended to 2023. Why do I bring this up? Because while many states now allow undocumented immigrants to get some form of ID, most are not allowing them to get a real ID if they do not have a legal status. However, that won't impact your travel plans at this time. So what will impact your travel plans is if you don't have any type of valid identification. So say you are undocumented in the United States and you want to travel from California to Puerto Rico or Texas, or let's just say you want to go to Hawaii, as some of our viewers have asked. We are asked almost every day if being undocumented will keep you from traveling. If you have a valid current foreign passport and other acceptable form of identification, you should not have a problem traveling within the US, even if you are undocumented. We recommend that you contact the airline you are flying with and the airports you are flying through to verify with them what identification they require to let you travel. Can CBP, that's Customs and Border Patrol, stop you if you are flying domestically? That means within the US. Customs can stop you either at an airport or while traveling on a bus or in a car in the United States. However, they cannot stop you when you are arriving on a domestic flight. In fact, they did this in 2017 and a lawsuit was filed and an agreement reached that said they would not do this. Based on this agreement, CBP will circulate a policy directive nationwide clarifying that the agency does not have a policy or practice of checking the identification of deplaning domestic passengers. If Customs Border Patrol officers seek to check identification, the directive outlines clear protocols restricting those checks. The officers must now, 1, make clear through their words and actions that the participation in the document check is voluntary. 2, provide an unimpeded path for passengers to exit the airplane. 3, explain, if asked, that the passengers who decline to participate will face no law enforcement consequences as a result. And 4, request that airline personnel announce over the airplane's public address system that the participation is voluntary. These requirements make clear that officers cannot detain domestic flight passengers for suspicionless searches. CBP will recirculate that directive nationwide again in 2 years. If you refuse to give consent when on a domestic flight, the CBP officers cannot detain you, even for a brief period, without reasonable suspicion of a violation of the law. CBP has this on their website. Customs can stop people traveling in the US. The authority for this is based on the Immigration and Naturalization Act. It's section 287, subsection A, subsection 3, and copied in the Code of Federal Regulations, which states that immigration officers without a warrant may, quote, within a reasonable distance from any external boundary of the United States, board and search for non-citizens in any vessel within the territorial waters of the United States and any rail car, aircraft, conveyance, or vehicle. The law defines reasonable distance as 100 air miles from the border. To conduct a legal search under the Fourth Amendment, the agents must develop particularly probable cause to conduct a lawful search. However, if you consent, which means you give permission to customs to stop you and to review your ID and your belongings, you can't argue later that they couldn't do it. We also have had several questions about advance parole, but let's hold on before we get to advance parole. Look, Customs and Border Patrol can't check you. That's true. But you do have to be aware you are entering a location where there are federal employees. So you have to be aware that there is a risk that someone might see your passport or your information. Your passport will show whether you're in the United States legally or not. If Customs sees that passport, they may have suspected that you were here legally before, but after seeing the passport, they will know. So is there a risk? Yes, there is a risk when you travel inside the United States. Is it a big risk? It isn't. But I can't tell you you're risk-free because you're not. So are you probably going to have a problem? No, you're probably not going to have a problem. But is it possible for you to have a problem? It is. So you have to take that into consideration whenever you travel inside the United States, whether it's airport, bus, train, or car. The risk is the same. If you have contact with ICE or Customs Border Patrol, they could pick you up. But when you're going to a location where there are federal agents, obviously that risk is higher. So airplane is riskier than driving a car. Talking now about advance parole. This is something that you apply for with Form I-131 when you are applying for a green card or a few other statuses, or even DACA, which is not legal status, that says you may re-enter the US, though you are still subject to inspection and approval to enter by Customs Border Patrol. Keep in mind, some categories like DACA or TPS, Temporary Protective Status, when applying for advance parole can only get it for specified reasons, which I've talked about in other videos, and I'll link them here. You must not travel before your advance parole is approved. I know it is frustrating. I know it takes a long time, but if you are trying to get your green card and you leave before your advance parole is approved, your green card application may be considered abandoned, and you will need to start the whole process over again, and you may have to do that while living outside the United States. So don't do it. One of the questions we get is if you apply for advance parole under DACA to go to one country, say Mexico, to see a family member who is ill, can you then travel to other countries before coming back to the United States? Yes, you can travel to other countries if you have advance parole. Just make sure you didn't lie in your application. I would consult with a qualified immigration attorney before doing so, as this varies on a case-by-case basis. Remember that advance parole is only valid for up to 1 year. You must return to the United States before the time expires, or you may lose your immigration status. So the document itself is valid for a period of time, but you are granted certain period to travel outside and then to be back. You can't just stay outside for years on years and get guaranteed reentry. Also, advance parole does not guarantee reentry. If you have something in your background that would make you inadmissible to the United States, you can be denied reentry. We recommend that you talk to an immigration attorney if you're worried about this. The only people who are guaranteed reentry are US citizens. Even green card holders could be denied reentry if there's a problem, maybe a criminal background or some other order of removal or other problems in their past that perhaps they lied about. If you are in removal proceedings, you will not be approved for advance parole. So I recommend you don't waste your time or money applying for it generally. If you are here, you're applying for asylum, you might be, you can request advance parole, but it's not for your home country, because if that would invalidate your asylum application. We had someone who said they were traveling outside the United States and on advance parole and wondered if their order of removal would keep them from being allowed back into the United States. It shouldn't, since USCIS was aware of your order of removal when it granted your parole. However, I wouldn't take the chance. You must talk to an immigration attorney about your individual case before you travel, because I gave you a general answer and you need a specific answer for your specific scenario. We can't help everyone who calls us, but if we can't help you, we won't take your money. Thanks for watching. If you find this value in this video, please subscribe to our channel and share it with your family and friends. As always, stay healthy and be well.